Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. This is the third part of this series, and so far what we have done here in this tutorial, well, we have created this task controller, and this controller is responsible for having a list and having some values that user creates from here. And then we created this method called getTask, and which is responsible for getting all the values from our database and save it in a list called task list, which we declared early. And at the same time, we have created this database table over here. So our table name is task and the database name is task.db, but of course they don't have to have the same name. They can have very different names. And when we initialized it, we created this table. And after that, we have this two method, insert and query. So they are related to the method in over here in our task controller, which is add task calls insert, and get task calls this query method. Okay, and now of course those two methods are here. They are get called from our home page. Okay, all right, now we are back to our home page. So far we are able to create a task and save it in the database. Okay, so now it's time to show them on our home page over here. All right, okay, well, now to do that, first we'll declare a method over here, and we'll call it we'll call it show tasks. All right, now we'll go ahead and define the body for this. Okay, we'll do show tasks. All right, so now whatever the records are in the database, in our Sqflite database, we want to show them over here in a scrollable manner. Okay, yeah, so we want to wrap everything inside expanded widget. Okay, so we'd return expanded. All right, okay, now as we are returning, we can return over here this one. Well, it takes child, right? Okay, now this child would be pretty special because our expanded widget would contain all the values from our database in a list like this, but those lists are observable, which means those lists will have state because those lists are saved in task list as we saw early. Okay, yeah, so now because it's observable, so what do we need to do? We need to wrap this list, whatever comes from here, inside another special keyword in GetX that's called OBX. All right, now so you should use OBX around your observable variables. Okay, so our observable variable is task list, so that's why we are using OBX. But of course, OBX wants you to return something. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll return here a widget, and we'll return here listview.builder. Okay, all right, and it takes function over here. Okay, and first it takes a container, but we are not passing anything, and now we'll return like this. Okay, as we are returning, we need to use semicolon, of course, over here, you also need to return. For now, we're returning null. Okay. Anyway, so here we do have 3 return statement, which could be scary for beginners. While the first return returns the widget over here. Do remember that column takes children. So this expanded is column's child. So we need to return it. Now OBX also wants you to return things, okay? So that's why we need to return. OBX could return anything. In our case, we are returning the widget. Okay, now this is another function inside list builder. Of course, list builder, if you have a function, you also need to return, otherwise you won't get the value whatever happens from here. So that's why we have this 3 return statement, but it could be scary for beginners though. All right, now over here, instead of null, we could just simply do container. Okay, yeah, returning a container, say with 100 and height say 50, and say colors dot gray or green. All right, so that's what we are returning just for now. We'll change them very soon. Okay, so over here now the list builder takes number of items. So how many items we have? So we need to use the property called item count. Now previously we declared controller variable task controller. Once again, this is coming from over here, this one, task controller. Okay, this one is simply this one. Okay, so we instantiated an object which is a task controller, and because of this we would be able to access all the underlying properties or fields. So we want to access this one, task list. Do remember, task list contains all the values from our query. Okay, so now let's go ahead and access the property which is called task list, and now we want to access the length of it. Okay, so whatever the values are there would be accessing them. All right, okay, and now so they do contain values. Okay, so what you could do now, we could go ahead and create a print statement. Okay, first we want to see how many items are there, so you just simply go ahead and do it. You do this one. Okay, so we can go ahead and print, and let's see what happens. And well, it did print 7. Well, I created some for test purpose though. Anyway, but they're not very obvious, so what it'll do, we'll create a margin. We'll do adds in the instance bottom 10, and let's go ahead and we'll see that we have the separated spaces. And now, so this also means that we have 7 items in our database. Anyway, you're going to create more. Actually, I did more just for test purpose. Now we'll create one more, and we'll see something weird, say task, and just put it there. Okay, now this is still 7, right? So it didn't get updated automatically. Now that's because it has to do it over here. Now let's go ahead and find this button where it says add task. Let's see. Okay, this is the button. So it takes us to the task page, and that's it, and then it returns. But we don't want it to happen like this, so well, we'll wrap it around a second bracket over here, this one, and let's say, yeah, this one. Okay, and of course we need this one, semicolon, and here we'll await. Okay, wait until this returns. Okay, now if your function has await, we learned that we also need to use async modifier. So here we need to use async. So now the error should be gone. So until it returns, we await here. So as soon as this returns, we want to create, we want to refresh the list. Okay, the list, the one we have here in our controller, this is the list. So in Flutter GetX, if you have a list, you need to refresh it to get the new value. And to refresh it, we can just simply call this one. Okay, so why we need to refresh it, let me tell you, because every time we create this one, actually instance in our database, I guess it still stays in the database. It doesn't update automatically this one. Okay, so that's why once we call this one, what happens, it gets all the query again and put in the list and replace with the old one. That's what it does. When you do assign all, it replaces the old one. As you can see, replaces all existing items of this list with the items that you get from here. So when you create item over here, it just in the database table, but it doesn't refresh our list. So we'll call this one once more. In return, it will call this, and once you get returned from this one, it will update our list. Hopefully it makes sense. Okay, so that's why we are waiting over here. We click it and wait until this task is done, and then if the task is done, it returns, and after returning, immediately we can call task controller dot task list. Okay, get task. And so with this, we'd be able to update our list. Do remember, this one updates our list. Okay, so now let's go ahead and run it one more time. Okay, but of course this get refreshed, that's why you see the updated one. But now we will create one more again, and let's go ahead. So this is the newest one. Okay, so now things are getting pretty excited. So now we are able to read things from our database, and now simply to make it more interesting, what you could do over here, let's find our show task method. Yeah, show task over here. Simply we can create a child over here. Okay, we do child, and now here inside we can put the title of our each list when we create it. Okay, so we'll access using like this task list, and then we can access each of the list in this list using index. Index is let's see, I think I'm sorry, I'm doing it wrong. It should be index over here, not the context is this part anyway. So I mean, you can write context, but it still work as index. So now we'll access the properties. So do remember, the first property of this object is a title. Okay, now if you don't know where it's coming from, once again, now let's see, this is the title. Okay, ID we don't need to access, we'll just access the title. Now let's come over here. Okay, so now let's see what's the issue. So the argument type string cannot be assigned to the parameter type string. So maybe we could do to string, and let's see, and the error is gone. Okay, so what do we want? We want to print out the title name over here just to make it interesting. Okay, all right, so these are the different titles that we had. We can create one more, so it'll show up down there. Okay, and let's go ahead, last one. Okay, do right here 2, that doesn't matter. Okay, so now our list gets updated automatically each time, so perfect. And another thing you need to see that it's too close to this top part. So over here, I guess we can assign a sized box, and we'll do height, say 10, and it should be better. Okay, now it's much better. But now anyway, so it is working though, but there are too many of them. So first we want to click on them and remove them. Okay, all right, so that's what we want to do. So to do that, we need to come over here, our task controller. Okay, so over here we'll create a new method. We'll create a new method over here. Okay, so this method would be responsible for deleting. Okay, so we'll call it delete. Okay, now this one would once again call another method from db helper. Okay, over here. Okay, but there is no method like this, so we do static, we'll call it delete method, and we'll delete. Okay, so now from here we want to pass an object. So how to delete that? So let me walk you through the structure over here. For now, we'll wrap this around a container, which would be, say, for example, wrap it around a container, and we'll call it gesture detector, this one. And we already know that gesture detector takes an event, on tap event, on tap. Okay, all right, so we have here this on tap event. Okay, now on top event from here, we'll call this task controller.delete method. So we'll call task controller.delete. Okay, now as we call it, we'll pass this task instant over here. So instance, so we do index, so it'll take that, it'll take this, let's see what's going on here. Okay, so it'll take this instance based on this index, and then it'll call this method delete in task controller, which is this one. But of course it's showing error because we are not passing any argument, so we need to pass it here. So we'll grab the task. So we are passing an object of type task, and the object name is task. Of course you can name it anything, and now the error should be gone. So we are passing an object to a method, delete method. Okay, now we'll pass down this method, sorry, this object to the method over here. Okay, so it's the same as this one over here. As we passed object and received over here, we need to do the same for this one. So we'll call this method delete and pass down the object. Okay, so what we could do, we could go ahead and call div helper, this one dot delete. Okay, so we declared delete a static method, so we can call the method using the class name directly. Anyway, so here we'll pass this task object over here, and now come here and take task. All right, okay, so now the error should be gone. So what's happening from here, once we click on one of the containers, it'll grab the object based on the index and then call the delete method. So this delete method is sitting over here right there. So we'll get the task object. Now we'll pass it to the div helper, okay, over here. So now we have access to the object that's being passed down from here. Okay, so now we'll call our database instance object, which is this one. Okay, all right, so we'll call db dot, now it has also a method called delete, so that's what we want to call. Okay, now if you see, hover over on it, well, first it's asking you to do a null check if there is null check, or if it's null. Okay, and then if you hover over on it, you'll see it takes a string is the table name, and it takes condition where, and the objects you also need to pass to it. Okay, now first our table name is table name. We created a table before, like using this name for task, so the table name is tasks. Okay, all right, so we come over here and it takes another parameter which is called where, and here you need to mention the where, so you need to mention the, I think it's called column name. So our column name is id. Okay, this is the column name, and at the same time you need to use another parameter which is called arg, where args, and over here you need to pass down the id itself. Okay, yeah. So do remember, every task object we created early over here, okay, they have an ID. Okay, so we are capturing that ID in our over here from this object. Okay, and based on that ID we delete it, but of course this ID would be looked for this column, so it will find the column ID and use that ID to delete that. Okay, now let's see, hover over on it. Now it returns the future. Okay, so if a function returns the future, you need to use a wait keyword instead of in front of it, and then you also assign async for the caller function. Okay, now the error should be gone. Okay, so now let's go ahead and see the procedure. So over here we are calling the delete method. Delete method is here, over here, and then we call over here this one. Okay, all right, so now what we'll do, we'll go ahead and run it, and we'll see if we have error or not. Okay, so just now we saw that each of our container over here is wrapped around this gesture detector. That means we'd be able to tap on them and delete them, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and tap on this one. Okay, so we tapped on this, but nothing happened. So here, most probably it's got deleted. All right. Okay, we can do a printing statement over here. Now, if you come over here, you see. Okay, now here it says that it returns int. Once the delete operation is done, it returns int. And what it returns, I do believe it returns that number of IDs has been deleted, things like that. So anyway, so we'll see what it returns. So over here we'll use the return statement, return. Okay, now we'll come over here and we'll put the value in a variable val. Okay, and we'll print val. Okay, all right, let's go ahead and refresh it. Okay, all right, of course that's gone, but it didn't refresh automatically. Now let's click on this, and instead of future, so it does return an instance, so it does return something, but it doesn't return error though. Okay, so now it doesn't refresh, it doesn't get refreshed automatically. So the old problem is here, so we need to refresh the list immediately. Okay, task controller.getTask using this one. Okay, so now we launch it. Let's see. So that is gone, but now if I delete on this, click on this, it would get updated automatically. It doesn't matter where you click, it doesn't matter where you click, it updates our list immediately. So isn't it exciting? Okay, well, of course for now we are not going to use this gesture detector. Okay, it was just for the demonstration purpose, because I think we are all excitedly waiting for this interesting things to happen. So what I'll do, I'll keep this section container and I'll delete this part and this part over here, and everything else, let's see, we should be good. And I guess it should return, it should use a return statement. Okay, by the way, in future, later down this road, we still need this delete method, so we can still keep it here. We don't need to delete it, because sooner or later we are going to delete them anyway, so we would need the delete method. So for now it looks cleaner. Okay, all right, so now let's go ahead and run it, make sure things are good. Okay, so now we are successfully able to access the data in the list. Okay, now this is not how we want to present them. We want to present them more beautiful way. Okay, so to do that, we need to install a plugin. Let's see. Come over here to your project and come to this pub spec file. And within this spec file, over here, I already have installed this one. Okay. So if you don't have this plugin, go ahead and install it. Okay, just do pub-get and you should be good to go. All right, so now here, instead of directly returning a container, we can return a staggered animation list like that. So what we'll do, we'll just remove this one and we'll return animation configuration staggered list. I guess this one. Okay, all right, so it does take child and the position, and now the position is the index. Okay, well, it tells you where to start from, so you're gonna start from index. Okay, and now child over here, we'll use another widget inside staggered animation list, so that's called slide animation. Okay, all right, now slide animation also takes children, so we'll do here child. Now here within it we'll do fade in animation. Okay, all right, let's see, and fade in animation of course text child, otherwise it will show you an error. Sorry. Okay, now within child we'll be using row, and row text children, we already know it. Okay, now within row we'll have gesture detector. Let's see, yes, we need to have this one. And within row now we'll have gesture detector. Okay, so gesture detector takes on tap event, and for now we'll print tapped, and the other one is a child. Now child here I'll pass TaskTile, and we'll pass the instance. We'll copy paste this one over here, and we'll grab the index, and then we'll pass the instance related to that index. Okay, now you may wonder, where is this file coming from? Actually, this is the file over here, and I already have it in my widget folder, TaskTile, this one. Now I'll put the file, this file, the complete file, in the video description below, so you can just go ahead and copy paste. Well, I'm not going to work on this file here yet, because this is more like the UI, so I don't really want to touch the UI part, so I want to more the logical part and the Dart part. Okay, so just copy paste this file in your widgets folder over here. Okay, and then from here you import it. Okay, then you should be good to go. Now let's go ahead and run it. Now we see a beautifully presented list. Okay, so that's all happened due to this staggered list. Okay, of course you can do it many different ways. I just wanted to use this package. Okay, and it looked very convenient for me anyway. So now we have these things over here. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, we want to tap on them and show up a bottom sheet from down there. Okay, yeah, so that's what we want to do. To do that, first over here we'll declare a method over here. We'll call it show bottom sheet, like that. Okay, and within it we can pass a task object and the context. So we'll pass context, and let's see. Okay, and we'll pass a task object. Okay, all right, now this function is not there, so what we'll do, we'll go ahead and create it. So we'll call it we'll call it over here show bottom sheet. All right, this one, and it takes a context. So the context is BuildContext, and it takes an object. The object type is a task object. Okay, so once again, so this is over here. Now what is this task? Actually, we can grab the object from here, from the index. Okay, yeah, and then the error should be gone. Now once we click on this one over here, we want to pop up a container with the options. Okay, so that's what we want to do. Before we go ahead and create the bottom sheet, first take a look at this idea that what we are going to do. So once we want to click on them, any of them, so they will show as this bottom sheet over here. Okay, so for example, say if I click on this one, we would see this one, and I will have two states options. Either I can mark it as task completed or delete. Okay, well, if I marked it as a task completed, actually I would be seeing next time when I click on the completed task, I will see this one. Okay, so from these two pictures you understand that this height of this bottom sheet are changing based on your status and condition. Okay, so that's what we need to keep in mind. Yeah, so this height is dynamic height. All right, okay, now let's go ahead and start to create this. So to use the bottom sheet, would be using once again GetX. So to get bottom sheet, this one. Okay, well, it does take a lot of things, but we'll just pass a container to it. Okay, all right, now let's see here, we need to put this thing. Okay, yeah, now we want to create a bit of top padding over here, as you see over here. Okay, so that's what we'll do. So you do padding and const EdgeInsets top 4 pixel, and now the height. Okay, all right, so we want to get the height from this based on this task object. Okay, do remember that in our task model we have a status of or a field which is called is completed. Okay, so we'll use this one. In general, this is false. False means 0. Actually, I think when we created the database somewhere here, let's see, boolean integer, let me see, oh yeah, I think it's an add task over here. Is completed is 0, so its default value is 0, but once you click task completed, it becomes 1. Okay, so we have to access that value anyway. So what we'll do task is completed, and we'll check if it's 1, then do something, otherwise do something different. Okay, now if it's 1, which means the task has been completed. What does it mean? Say for example, I click on this one and it pop up this, so I'll mark it as task completed. So next time for this one, we'll see something like this. It will have this completed, this tag over here. Okay, otherwise it will be in to do. Okay, so which also means that if it's completed 1, we find it, we don't need to really show this option anymore. Like if I were to click on this one, we wouldn't see this option anymore. Okay, hopefully it makes sense. Okay, now now we need to get the height of the screen and use certain part of it, okay, as a proportion. Okay, so we can get it easily because we have this context object over here. So we'll use MediaQuery.of, we'll pass context, okay, and then we'll get the size object, and then we'll get the height object. Okay, and then we'll divide it by say 0.24. okay. If not, well, then we'll use this one, okay, if it's completed. Otherwise, we'll use a different size. Otherwise, so we'll get it from here and copy paste over here, and instead of 24, we'll use 32. Okay, yeah. So once again, if the task has been completed, the bottom height should be a little, how to say, smaller or shorter, so that's why we get 24. Otherwise it should be more than 30% of the whole screen. Okay, so that's why divided by 32. Well, you can use any number, so it doesn't matter though. So now let's go ahead and run it. Okay, all right, now we click on this. Well, of course it doesn't show up yet. I mean, it did, but we need to change the color, okay, because this is within a container and we don't have any nothing to show, so that's why it's a bit dark and transparent. Okay, all right, anyway, so now let's go ahead and set the color. To set the color, we'll first check it if it's dark mode or if it's gray, light mode. If it's dark mode, we'll use a color from here. Let's see. Okay, let's come over here and come to this one. If it's dark mode, we'll use this color. Okay, so let's come over here and we'll do this. Otherwise, we'll do colors.white. Okay, yeah, I think we need a comma here. Okay, the error is gone. Now let's go ahead and run it one more time. Okay, now let's click on this and it showed up. Okay, perfect. Now we can do the check for dark mode. Now click on this. Okay, so it is like more like black color, things like that. Okay, yeah, but if you are not happy with two black colors, we can change it anyway. We'll do that later, but it is there, you understand it. Okay, all right, let's change it back. Okay, That's perfect. Okay, now from this picture, we do understand that here we need this thing now. Okay, so how to do that, and how to do this thing. So all of them, we'll put them in a column, okay, in a column section. So now let's go ahead and declare child over here, and over here first we'll write column, and it takes children. Okay, now the first child is this one, so we can do it with simply a container. So we do container, and we do height, say 6, width 120, and then decoration, box decoration. Okay, all right, now we'll do border radius dot circular dot 10. We'll use border radius 10, and then we also need to set the color. Once again, we need to check is dark mode or light mode. So if it's dark, we use color, I'm sorry for the typo, colors dot gray, this one. You will use 600. Otherwise, we'd use colors.gray 300. Okay, now let's go ahead and save it and see. All right, it's restored. Now, okay, here we are with this. Okay, well, the next thing we want to show is this buttons. But now regarding this buttons, we want to create reusable buttons. Okay, so first we need to define our buttons, properties and parameters. Okay, so what are the things we want to do? Definitely the first thing, the button will have a label. Okay, so now what we'll do, we'll go ahead and first write the function body. Let's go ahead and see. So we'll call it bottom sheet button, like that. Okay, now as I said that it will be reusable, that also means that we need to pass parameters to it. Okay, reusable, so different places will use different parameters. Okay, and a lot of the parameters would say more like optional, so they might also have default value. So within curly braces, that means optional. Okay, and some of them are optional, some of them are required. Anyway, so now here, definitely whenever we call this function from somewhere, we need to pass a string. So we'll call it label. Okay, what else you want to pass? So this should be clickable. Okay, so by the way, once again, the label is this one. Okay, so we want to pass an on tap event, so that would be a function. And what else we want to pass? Let's see, we want to pass color. So here you see each of them, they have different color, so we want to pass a color object. And what else? I think we can also pass a default condition, so for closing it. Okay, so we'll do bool is close equal false. Okay, now let's see. Okay, add a required and required. Okay, so that's what we want. So now what we'll do over here, we'll find a place to call this button. Okay, now over here, once again, first we need to check before we show this bottom sheet that whether the task is completed or not. Why? Because once the task is completed, the height is different. Okay, as we saw. All right, so let's go ahead and check it. So we do task dot. Now once again, this task is coming from here, if you're not following. So task is completed equal 1. Okay, if it's 1, then we just say container. So here we won't show anything. Okay, we won't show anything, so it would be an empty container. Otherwise, okay, we'll call this button over here, and we'll pass those parameters to create a reusable button for us. So that's what we're going to do. And now here we'll pass parameters. Let's see, because you need to pass parameters, that's why it's showing error. Anyway, so first we want to pass the label. So for the first one, the label is task completed. Well, second one is an onTap function. Now here, so we want to do few things. Definitely the first one we want to do, we want to close this, or I mean, once over here, let's come over here. Once you click over here, it should be gone, right? Back to this page. Once again, you click any of them, it should be back to this place, right? So that's what we want to do. So we would use get.back. Okay, that's one. And the other parameter, what else we can send? Let's see. We'll also send the color object. Okay, yeah. So CLR, and we will use a primary color for this. Primary CLR. This is coming from our theme file. Primary color is this one, bluish color. So for this one, it would be our background color, and we are using primary color. And well, now is close this one. For now, it's false. We are already setting is at default. Okay, so we shouldn't be worried about that one. Okay, now we'll go ahead and define the body of this each button. But do remember, each of the button will be clickable. So our container will be wrapped around gesture detector. So first we'll return gesture detector. Okay, and here of course it takes onTap event, and we'll put here onTap. Okay, all right. And if you do get error after putting onTap, so just try to put this bracket here, and the error should be gone. That happens because of null safety feature of Dart SDK. Anyway, so now we'll go ahead and draw this container. So definitely it would be within child. We'll do container. Okay, well, now you see these two containers, they have this white space here, so we'll do margin over here. Okay, and const edge insets, and we'll do symmetrical. Okay, and we'll do vertical 4. So because of this one, top and bottom, each of them will get 4, so total 8 pixels. Okay, vertical means top and bottom, so bottom for this one, top for this one. Anyway, now let's go ahead, and we also want to do height over here, height 55, yes. And now width. Now we don't have access to context here, so I think we also need to pass a context from here. So we'll pass a context. We'll do context. Do remember we can access the context over here, so we can pass it to the next one. Now over here we'll grab the context, we'll call it BuildContext and the context, and the error should be gone, and it might ask you to add the required keyword. Okay, perfect. So now we can go ahead and get our width. So we can do MediaQuery.of context, and then we can get the size object and then width object. And now we don't want the complete width of the screen, we just want 0.9, which means 90% of the width. Okay, great. Now we also need to define the color of this background. Okay, now over here for color we need to do a lot of check. Do remember that, like, we have 3 buttons here. If you see carefully, this is the same as the background color, so we need to check whether we are creating the button for this close section or for the upper one, and that's why we have this one over here is close. If we send from here, say is close true, then it means that this button. Otherwise, whenever we call it, default value is false, and that is for those 2 upper buttons. Okay, so for now default value is false. Anyway, we need to do a check, so we do is close. If it's say close, it's true. If it's true, okay, all right, say for example we can use say colors dot red. Okay, otherwise whatever the color we sent, that color we'll use, so that is CLR. Okay, all right, color, yeah, let's see why we get this error. Okay, most probably this one over here. Now let's see, condition, oh sorry, I think I made a mistake here. It should be this one. Okay, now this error should be gone, and at the same time what we can do, we can come over here and let's see, okay, and what else, we can also do border color, sorry, so it's a decoration, I'm sorry, and box decoration. Okay, and box decoration, as you see, this one will have this border color, right? So that's what we need to deal with. So we'll define a default border width, which is border.all. Okay, and now we'll define a width over here, say 2. Now whatever the color, now once again this color should be same as like the way we did conditional check for those two. All right, okay, so once again here, if you do color, now check the color. So once again we need to check if it is true or false. Okay, so is close, if it's say true, then we'll use say colors dot red. Okay, otherwise we'll do otherwise we'll send the color. Okay, whatever we'll use the color that's been passed down, this one. Let's see, the error is gone. Now the other thing we could do, we could also assign border radius, I guess. Okay, so border radius dot circular 20. Okay, so far we have this one, and let's see, now we'll go ahead and run it, and looks like we have an issue here. This one, I think that's been imported wrongly, so we don't need this one. We'll just remove that. Now let's come over here, yeah, this section, this section over here. Okay, so now let's go ahead and run it and see if we have an error or not. Okay, well, looks like no error, so you're good to go. Let me close this one, we don't need this. Now let's click on this one, and it does have, okay, well, I think that's a silly mistake I made. So if you have box decoration, you don't need the color outside. You don't use the color inside of this box decoration. Okay, so we can put the color inside for now. Sorry, let's go ahead. So we'll just cut it and we'll put it inside. So now let's go ahead and see. Okay, perfect. So it already showed up over here, right? The button. Now it's too close to the top one. I think we can do a work on this. So let's see, over here we can put a spacer. So spacer, let's see. Okay, now let's go ahead and run it. Okay, so well, it came down because it's taking all the available space, but that's okay for now. All right, yeah, it doesn't matter though. So over here we pass this one, this bottom sheet. You can pass another one for the next button. So what we'll do, just simply go ahead and copy this one and put it over here, and before we put it, we can create a sized box over here. We do sized box and say height 20, and now over here we'd say delete task. Okay, now this color, we don't want a primary color. Maybe we can send something red because we are deleting. So we do color dot red, say 300 colors. let's see what's happening. The argument call can't be accessed. Okay, I think you put it in null checker and the error should be gone. This is because of, again, null safety of new SDK. All right, now let's click on this. Okay, so we have this 2 that showed up. Okay, and what else? Okay, now so far we are good. Now how about this text over here? Okay, so we are passing over here the text, like the label, the string over here. We can also pass it down. Okay, now we can pass it as a text of this container, so as a child. Okay, so we'll define it over here. So we do child and then we do text. Okay, and the text, the string should be label. Okay, the one we have already. Okay, now let's save it and see the result. I think we need to restart our app. Now let's click on this. Yeah, it did show up. Now there are a lot of other issues. The first, we can center it, so we'll wrap it around center widget. Okay, now the style for this one. So now we'll assign style to it. So we do style, and once again we'll do is close check. Is close. If it's close, okay, that means if is close is true, that means this button. Otherwise it's for this button. Okay, all right. If it's closed, then we'll apply the style, title style, this one. Once again, this is coming from over here, this one in theme file. Okay, this style we apply. Otherwise, we'll apply a different style. Okay, all right. So we do title style, this one, dot copy with. Now inside we do color parameters. So colors dot white. Okay, so well, now this could be a bit new for you. So we are copying all the style from here, but we want to assign a different color for this. Sorry, so just the white color. So whatever the color was there, don't use that, use the white color. So that's what it means. Okay, so you copy this style object and then just change the color within it. Otherwise, keep everything else the same. Anyway, so now we'll go ahead and run it. Let's see. Now let's click on this. Yes, perfect. So well, it's already looking much better, right? Okay, so what else we could do? Okay, well, next we could create another button. That would be the close button, the one we saw over here, this one. Okay, this is the close button. That's what we want to do. Okay, now come over here. Where? Over here. Okay, so let's create a button, and over here once again we'll copy it, and over here we'll write close. That's what. And another thing regarding this one, so is close, so we'll pass this time is close true. Okay, all right. Now let's go ahead, save it, run it. Let's click any of them. Well, it did show up. So this is the delete task and this is the close one. Okay, now we are a bit different from the original style we saw already, so we need to change them. Okay, now definitely the first thing, we can take care of the space, I guess. Instead of putting the space here, actually we could do the space here, I guess. Okay, and to see the result, I think we still need to restart it anyway. So now it's looking a bit much better, and at the same time, at the bottom, too close to the bottom, so over here we can also do size box, and we do height, say 10, and let's restore it. Yeah, I think this is much better. Okay, now a few other issues that we need to take care right now. Let's see. So first, over here, let's take a look at our task. Okay, well, definitely we can change the font size as well, so we don't need to do that for now. Okay, I'll leave it up to you. But it's a bit different over here, like this one. So text style and the background colors, but we don't want the background color to be red. We want it to be white so that the text is black. Okay, now where to change this thing? Now definitely we can change it over here. Okay, over here. So now here, so if it's true, as you can see, if it's close equal true, you're using the red color. But here we don't want to use the red color. Okay, now maybe we can use a different color. Let's see. Yeah, so this is the background color. So what can we use? Say for example colors dot transparent. I think that's better. Okay, so now let's save it. I think we need to rerun. Okay, this is much better, but now the background color, so the border color issue. Okay, now border color is over here. We don't really want a border color of red. We can do any color, but now do remember that we have this different mode, right? So we also can check if it's dark mode. Okay, so we do get is dark mode. So if it's a dark mode, okay, so we want to use colors dot gray, so 600. If it's dark mode, so it would be more like, I guess, more white, more close to white. Okay, otherwise we do colors dot gray 300. Okay, yeah, and of course it's being cranky. It's once again for null safety issues, so here you just put one exclamation mark and the error should be gone. Now let's go ahead and check it. Okay, now over here we are, so it's looking perfect. Okay, well, that's okay. Now let's go ahead and check it against our different dark mode. So now over here, yes, so it still gets the background color and it keeps the text color as white. Okay, I think that's what we wanted. So far we are good over here. So now this section, if you don't understand what's happening here, so it's a condition inside condition. Okay, if it's true, then we fall back to this whole section over here. Okay, this one. Otherwise we fall to the color that's being supplied. And of course inside this we check again if it's dark mode or light mode. Okay, that's you need to check because this background color. Okay, because if it's dark, you want to make it dark as well, not really white, otherwise it would look ugly. Anyway, so this is much better now. Okay, so of course the next thing you want to be able to click on them and do something. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and find those buttons. So this like for example this delete button. Okay, so right now it's taking on tab event, but if you click on this it just go back. Okay, if you click on this it just goes back. All of them, they are doing the same thing. Okay, now the first thing we could do, and which we already have done before, delete. Once we click delete, so we want to be delete and then go back. Okay, so do remember early we have created this method called delete task. So simply we can call this one passing a task object. Okay, so now let's go ahead and come over here. So we'll call it from task controller dot delete, and simply we'll pass the task object. Okay, now this task object is coming from here, if you didn't know. Now things are getting excited, so let's go ahead, save it and run it. So let's click on this and we delete this. let's click on this one more time, delete this. Well, it looks like it's not being deleted, or is it? Now let's go ahead and run it from the beginning. Well, it's got deleted, but after deletion it didn't get refreshed, so we have this old issue like getting refreshed and things like that. Okay, so now over here we want to refresh it automatically. So one thing we could do before we go back, maybe let's see, we can call this get query over here. Which one? Let's see, over here. So once we delete it, whether we can call this one or not, let's try to do that. So we would call dot get task, this one. Okay, okay, perfect. Let's go ahead and delete it. Yes, it got deleted automatically. Let's go ahead and delete this one, so we can delete all of them. Now let's go ahead and create a new one. Let's say Flutter, the best mobile framework. Okay, and say I would do it daily, and I would use a different color. And well, for now the time I'll still keep like that. Let's go ahead and create it, and it showed up immediately. Okay, perfect. Okay, now I want to delete this one. Let's see if we can. Yes, we did. Okay, so of course we can go ahead and delete this, but now the other thing we want to do, we want to update this status. So once we click on this one, we want to mark it as a task completed, and it will show here that task has been completed. So that's what we want to do next. Update our task over here. First we need to come over here, our div helper, and over here we need to declare a new method, and we'll call it update method, and this type is static, and we'll call it update. And over here we'll just receive the ID of this object, and then you should be good to go. Okay, now here we'll call db.update. Well, we have update and we have raw update, so we'll use the raw update over here. Okay, now with the raw update you need to send a string, so you need to write the the SQL within the string itself. Okay, yeah, now here, okay, so you need to have this three single quotation together. Okay, and let's see, well, we need to do a lot of other things, don't worry, the error will be gone anyway. So what we'll do here, we'll do, now we want to update the table. What's our table name? Our table name is this one, tasks. So we want to update that table, so that's what we'll write here. We'll do update tasks. Okay, and now we want to set a certain column value. Okay, so you do set is completed. Okay, and then we do where, it's a condition to check where ID. All right, and then over here one and ID. Okay, so let's see over here, so add a null check, and let's, hopefully the error should be gone. So what's happening here, so we are writing an SQL string, and over here you need to write it using this three single quotes at the beginning and almost at the end. And now here you'd mention the table name and what to update or set, like that. Now those two values would be coming from here. So here we want to set this field in this table, the field, we want to set this field to 1, and then we want to update a certain ID or certain row. So this ID is coming from here, and we'll pass it down. Okay, so we will update the specific ID with the row, or the row with the specific ID, like that. Okay, so we are good with this. And now here we need to return, and we could do await. All right, returning is not compulsory. I think but you could do it anyway. So async, because we are doing await and async. So now this is the method. Now this method would call from task controller. Okay, now we'll write the update method over here, and we'll call it, say for example, void mark task completed. Okay, we can do like this, and it'll take an integer ID. So first it will get the ID from here, so as a parameter, and then from here we'll pass it to this one. Okay, so we'll call db helper dot update. Okay, all right, and that's it. Okay, so now it's better you do await and async, otherwise you might not get any result, because updating might take time. Until then you wait, and when it returns, then you return as well, like that. Okay, so this is the method name. Okay, so once we update, okay, well, now we are done with this. Actually, all we need to do, we need to come over here somewhere and call this one, pass down the ID, and from here we pass down the ID to over here, and it will update and return. So now here, so we need to call this method, so we can call it from here because task completed from here. So before we go back, we want to call it. So here we'll write call the method. So we do task controller dot mark completed, and we need to pass down the ID, and we do task dot ID, this one. Okay, and because of null check, I think you need this one. Once again, this kind of thing depends on your SDK version. Okay, all right, now it should be good. We should be good to go. So what we can do right now, I think we can just go ahead and run it and see the result. Okay, well, I think if we update it, we also need to update our list, just like we did here. So this one. Now I think we can move this logic inside the function itself. So here we can just call get tasks, this one. Okay, and the same for delete task. So we can keep all the logic together in this controller. So from here, from delete, we don't need this anymore. So it's inside the delete method right now, and the same for update. So what we'll do, so we'll just go ahead and refresh and run it one more time. Okay, so now you click on this, it will show up, and now let's try to mark it as a task completed, and now it showed it as completed. Right now if you click in again, right now you can only delete it. Okay, no other status for this one. Perfect, we are doing amazing so far. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and create another one. So next one, we are doing good, and over here we'd mark it as daily, and I would use a different color. Okay, perfect. Now we have this options over here, so I'll mark it as complete. Now I'll mark it as delete, and it's gone automated. Okay, perfect. So far everything is working so perfectly. So if you have any questions, leave comments below. Anyway, so now what is the next thing we want to do? We want to do, the next thing is that based on this time, we want to get a notification like the beginning time. Okay, so that's what we want to do next, and create this notification based on time. I think we need to rearrange some of the stuff. Okay, first we want to create this notes, this list over here based on date, but now as you see it shows up everywhere, but of course because we assigned it as a daily, so that's why it shows up everywhere. Okay, so anyway, so we want to see that we want to make a list or note or notification for a specific date, and it showed up only on that date, not in other places. Okay, yeah, like that. So first let's go ahead and create one. I'll say new project. Okay, let's get the ball rolling. Okay, now I want to do it, say, on the 22. Okay, and for now we'll say daily once again, and we'll use okay, the default color. Okay, so here we go. Now so it shows up everywhere, as you see. So we need to solve this, because even though we just created this one for 22nd, but it shows up on everywhere. So, well, now why it's doing that? Because we are not doing any conditional check over here. Okay, so that's what we need to do. So here we need, once again, we need to use a task controller task list, but it's pretty long. So what we could do, we can over here we can create an instance of task, and we'll call it task, and we'll get it from the index. Okay, do remember that up to this here it's an instance of this task over here. Okay, so now we have this task, and we can access this task and properties within it. So now we don't need this one anymore. We can just simply write task. Okay, and sorry, here, because we are passing the instance, and let's see, over here it's the same. We are just simply passing the instance, and we should be good to go. Okay, let's go ahead and run it, make sure we are not breaking anything. Okay, cool. All right, now we want to render over here conditional block. Okay, so now how do you do that? Okay, now let's look at some of the properties that we have in our model. So this is our model, right? But of course, if you try to go ahead and print it, you'll see it's an instance of it would say it's an instance of, let's see, instance of task. So it become, this is coming, well, from task model, so this is an object or instance. Okay, so look, check out my other Flutter list map tutorial. You'll get better idea that why this is an instance. But anyway, so if we want to access some of the properties in it, so we need to convert it to JSON. So that's what we are doing it. But of course, this method is described in our task model over here to JSON, if you are following along from the previous tutorial. So we are doing that now over here. Now let's print it. Okay, and let's wait for the result. Okay, so now we get to see that we have this few tasks over here. Okay, and now we also get to see the column they have, or the fields. Okay, now here one of them is daily, as you can see, and we also have date. So based on date and daily, for now we can configure them. Okay, yeah, so we can, now we know that we can access this properties like repeat, that's equal to daily, and here we can access date, and date would be equal to certain dates like over here. Okay, so we can access those properties or fields. But anyway, we will comment it out now. So the first condition we want to check that if it's daily. Okay, so we would do if task dot repeat, because you see over here repeat has a value equal daily. Okay, so we can access that one. So we would say if it's equal daily, that what it means, it means we'll show it everywhere. Okay, everywhere, because this is daily, so it doesn't matter which day it is. So I'll just copy paste and put it over there. Okay, and now let's see, we have an error though. What is the error? Let's hover over on it. Oh yes, I think it inserted set state automatically for us. We don't need this one. Okay, so now that's for daily, and we also don't need this one. Let's see, daily, yeah, okay. That's, I guess, due to set state. Let's see what else. That's because mostly return. Okay, don't worry, we'll fix it soon because we have if statement here. So the other one we could do is check the date. Okay, so we can check the date. So we would do if, so based on date, like whatever the date it is, whatever the date it is, we'll show it based on the date. Okay, all right. So now what we'll do task dot date. Yes, if date equal date format dot y, let's see, ymd, we are going to use this one. Okay, this will have date in slash format, because we do have date in slash format over here. Okay, and then we'll call the format method and we'll pass the selected date. Okay, let's see. Yes, auto completed. And now we come over here and another one will do else. If it doesn't match any date, then we'll do else. Okay, well, for now we'll just copy paste this one and put it over here, because they're the same thing, just based on date they would show the note, and otherwise we'll just return empty container, which means that it didn't find any match either based on the date. Okay, but if it's daily, it would always show everywhere. Okay, all right. So now, so what is the selected date? Well, the selected date is, first we declare at the top over here. If you come at the top, we declared this one, but that was the current date. But anyway, we also did in previous tutorial, if you come to, let me see, let's find the code at the bottom sheet. Yeah, I think over here. Okay, add date bar over here, and we had an option over here where user could select the date. Okay, so based on date selected, it'll change the default value. The default value is the current date, like the one you saw earlier. Okay, anyway, now let's go ahead and check it, and let's see if we can get it based on the date. Okay, well, now once again, this was on the 22nd, but it showed up on the 21st, and so it looks like even if I select, nothing works. Well, that's due to because we are selecting the date and changing the date, but we are not triggering a redraw, so we can put it around set state, so this will cause a redraw. Okay, now let's go ahead and run it one more time. Okay, yeah, now let's see over here. Okay, and now let's come back to our code, the one we are doing early. Okay, over here, let's see, selected date, build method has been called, because we are not supposed to see this one here yet. Okay, what we could do, we can just go ahead and print it, that whether everything is okay. All right, so there should be one on the 22nd, and over here, and that was also for daily, but on 23rd it should not be there, but it is still there. Let's see what's happening. Okay, that's because, as you see, I think we also marked it as daily. Okay, so that could be the problem. All right, because it's 22nd, so it's it should be showing up here, but it's also follow the first condition. Okay, so this is the reason. I'm sorry for the what is it, the silence. I forgot that I marked it as daily. So what we can do, we can just try one more time. Let's see, another shot. Okay, get it done. All right, and now here we'll do, say, 23rd, and we'll do okay. Now here we'll select none. Okay, we don't want to repeat, and we'll use a different color. And now here we go. Yes, so that means if you go to 23rd, that would work because we didn't select daily. So on 23rd we see this. Of course we see all other two as well, because those two are for daily. Okay, but 24th, that's gone. All right, so perfect. And 21st, it's not there. 22nd is not there. It's only for 23rd. Amazing. So it's working. Well, sorry for the getting lost over here, because I didn't notice that I selected as daily. Okay, but hopefully it makes sense. Okay, what else? Okay, well, now so far so good. And what is the next thing we can do? Next, I think we can go ahead and start working on the notification based on date and time. Okay, that's what we'll be doing. All right, so let's go ahead and start to work on notification, and let's see the current status of our notification. We remember that in the first part of this series, we have built notification for this button over here. So let's go ahead and check it out. Now this button should be, let's say, somewhere here in app bar. So open up your app bar. So here we have a task and on tap event, and over here we have this two notification, display notification and schedule notification. This one happens immediately once you click on the button, and this one happens after 5 seconds later. So let's go ahead and check it out first. Display notification. Now display notification, yeah, this one. So over here actually we have done some initialization, as you can see from here. Let me wrap it around like this, yeah, for Android, and this part is also for iOS. And for iOS, pretty much you didn't need to do any setup. For Android, most probably you need to do this setup, otherwise you might get errors. So you need to mention your importance. All right, and some descriptions, but for now we are not showing them yet. Okay, so those two together, like Android and iOS together, we actually put in this notification constructor, as a notification detail constructor, and then we send it to the built-in function in the Flutter notification, that dot show. All right, yes. And of course here we have this payload as default sound. Actually it could be any string, it's not really about the sound though. All right, yeah. So that's for display notification once you click on this one. All right, and we also have the other one, like schedule notification. Once again, it's coming right down there. So schedule notification pretty much is a function which wrapped zoned notification. All right, so you use zone notification, or sorry, zoned schedule for scheduled notification, which means after a certain time later you want to show it. Okay, so that's where you use it. But you can also pass over here, as you can see, some parameters. So actually we can pass a lot more parameters, and we'll see soon. Okay, so now with this one, scheduled notification, it's right now it's fixed. Okay, like 5 seconds. Of course you can do 10 seconds, even you can do minutes, that doesn't matter. Well, now, okay, we'll go ahead and use this one. We'll try to use this one based on our date, okay, and time. We will want to see based on time how to show our notification. Okay, all right. Now well, before we go ahead, another thing though, just I wanted to tell you, if you forgot what happened early. So here definitely you need to initialize this function, which is called initialize notification, and it took settings for iOS, Android, and then we wrap them together and create initialization settings for devices, and then we use this object to our actual notification one. Okay, so which is called .initialize method. Okay, so you should have a good grasp on this right now. And it also takes a callback function. So for this one you can define any function and function body later, so if it makes sense to you. Okay, well, so those are done at the beginning in our first series, I believe. Okay, all right, so now our focus is how to show this one based on time. For this one we need to come over here. Well, of course it's there, so what it will do, we'll just comment it out. We don't need it now, we just want, like, once we click on this, only one notification, and this is that one, and we'd be happy. So but based on time, if we want to show the notification, we have to come over here in our OBX. What is this? From GetX, actually. I guess it's a class. Anyway, so here we do this configuration, okay? So we are doing the conditional check. So before we return our list, so over here we can try to schedule the notification based on this time, because over here we are doing for daily, and over here we are doing for based on date. So anyway, so now here we want to do this. Well, previously we tried to print out this this information using this print method. And now if you take a look at carefully, you'll see that it is it's a JSON format, right? And it also has start time and end time, okay? So, well, our first thing is to get the start time, because when the time arrives, we want to put the notification, okay? So that's what we want to do. So let's, what we could do now, let's go ahead and, well, we need to reformat this time, because once we want to send this time over here, definitely it takes a number, as you can see, integer, okay? So what we need to do, we need to strip out this section, okay? And of course, you also can't send this one directly. As you can see over here, it takes duration. So in days, hours, minutes, seconds manner. So this one is pretty much like an object, so you can't send this one. So what do we need to do? We need to split this thing, okay? So that's what we are going to do now. So anyway, so from this task object, we can access the start time, right? So, okay, well, as you can grab this, now we'll be able to grab this from this object. So what we'll do, we'll create a date time object first, date time, and we'll call it date, and we'll get it like, say, for example, task.start time. Okay, well, now here, task.start time is a string object, or it's a string, okay? So we need to convert it to date time object, and that's why we'll use a special function called parse, okay? Date time dot, let's see, jm, sorry, it's date format dot jm, this one, the second one, and it has a function which is called parse, P-A-R-S-E. As you can see, it takes a string, and we'll put our string there, and we'll convert it to string, okay? Yeah. Well, it depends on SDK version. In some SDK version, you don't need to convert it to string. Anyway, it's already string, but it's a different SDK version. They handle it a bit differently. Anyway, so now it's date object over here, date time object, okay? It was previously it was string, now it's a date time object, okay? Now we'll declare a new variable. We'll call it my time, and now over here we'll call date format, okay? And now this one over here, you can actually pass the format. So we'll pass the format HH means hour and MM means minute, okay? And now we'll call format function, and we'll pass our data object to it, okay? So all we did here, we grabbed the string, you formatted it to data object one more time, and once it is a data object, you format it to this thing, okay? All right, now let's go ahead and try to print it, okay? Now we'll do that. Okay, now let's go ahead and print it and see the result. Okay, so now as you see, it gives us time, but it doesn't have this AM. Okay, all these things we did, this operation, all because it has this AM and PM next to it, okay? But when we want to pass to our notification service over here, we don't want it, we just want to pass string. Anyway, so we're good with this. Okay, but now there's another thing that we still need to split it, okay, before we pass it, because now this string, of course, we can't send it here, as we saw earlier, it just takes integer. Anyway, let's come over here. So over here, we'll call my, say, notify service, notify helper, this one, and the function is called schedule. Let's see, this, what is it? Schedule, this one. So we'll call this one. Okay. But now the thing is that currently it doesn't have any parameters, so we want to pass parameters to it. To pass parameters, so let's go ahead to this function over here. So we want to pass a few things over here. We want to pass hour, so that would be as int. We want to pass minutes, that would be as int. And we also want to pass the task object. Okay, all right. Why we want to pass this? Let's see. Okay, anyway, we need to import it because we'll use other information from it. Anyway, so let's come over here. Now definitely we need to pass the parameters. So before we pass this one, we need to split it one more time. Okay, so what we'll do here, say int.parse. Okay, now then we'll access this one, and then we'll convert it to string, make sure it's a string once again, and then we'll split it. Okay, and we'll split it based on this thing, this, I think they call it colon, I guess. Okay, and because it would be the hours, so we'll use the first index from it, so we'll do 0 like this. Okay, perfect. Now we'll do the same for minute, because once you split it, it's still a string, and because of int parse, it becomes an integer. Okay, now we split it one more time and we get the second index. Okay, and after that what we'll do, we'll pass task, the object. Okay, yeah, all right. Okay, now let's go ahead and save it, and let's make sure everything is okay. All right, no errors. Okay, now as we can grab this thing over here, we can just try to use it directly. Okay, so let's go ahead and use, say for example, minutes. Say for example, just pass minutes over here. Minutes is a number, so it really doesn't matter though. Okay, now here we'll have error, as you see. Okay, evaluation of this constant expression throws error. Okay, so that's very interesting. Or like for example, say int new time, and here we do minutes. Okay, and from minutes we pass here new time. It doesn't matter, we pass time, minutes or hour or seconds. But now here's the problem. Okay, regardless what integer you pass, you can't really pass a variable here, because this is a variable. The only thing it takes here in this function, it just takes a integer. Okay, you can't really pass anything else. Even say for example you pass 5 here, so now you try to write here new time and you'll get error. Okay, so that's the problem that you should know about zoned notification when you try to use the variable time, not a constant time. So that also means that the value you passed down from here, we can't use it. Okay, so we may use it for constant, but not really for variable time. Okay, now so if you ever have a problem, come over here. Okay, here I do have a lot of listing about this notification, how it should work. Okay, if you can't follow the video, you can come over here and read them. And over here, personally, when I was doing this tutorial, I wrote them down, and I'm also constantly updating. It has more information than the video itself, as you can see. Okay, so come over here and try to search for your problem, and hopefully it would be very helpful. So from the top, you can just click on any of the items and you should be able to good to go. Okay, so this is the number 9 one, and say for example you want to know how to initialize, so come over here. So I talked here about initialization, things like that. Anyway, so that's this link, you can save it, come down later and read it, because I'm always updating it if things are different. Video I can't really update all the time, right? Anyway, so now let's come back over here. So now this is a problem for us. So how do we solve this issue? So we need to declare a new function. Definitely, I mean new function over here, and we'll do some process. Okay, well, as we want to go ahead and declare a new function for this to replace, now let's take a look at this one. So this returns tz datetime object, and now over here, well, if you look at this one, it also returns a tz datetime object. So that's what we need, right? Okay, now over here, let's go ahead and declare a function, and we'll call it convert time. That's all we want. Okay, now we'll comment it up. For now, we don't need that. You only need for instance time and the notification like that. Okay, so over here we'll go ahead and create a body of this function, but just now we saw that it does return a tz datetime object, so we'll do tz datetime. So that's what it returns, and now we'll call it convert, call the function convert time. Okay, now here of course we need to return all right, the function name is okay. So now let's see. So definitely first we need to create an object. We'll call it tz datetime. Let's see, tz, well, it's not getting anyway, datetime, we'll call it now. We'll get the current time, tz datetime now, and okay, now here things will get interesting. So what it does, it takes a local object. So I think it has to do with the local device and things like that, and as well as the location. Okay, so that's what it returns from here. So based on the local location, I would say, it returns a current time object. Okay, things like that. But it's not, I don't think there's a normal current time object. It will be much more complex object anyway. So it does return something has to do with the current time. Okay, so we get this one. Once we get the current time, we can use this one inside this. Okay, well, so how to use this? So now let's go ahead and create another object, tz datetime, and we'll call it schedule date, because this is what we want to return ultimately, but you can call it anything you want. Okay, now over here tz datetime, and over here first we'll send the tz.local time or local object, and then we'll do now.year, now.month, now.day. Now here we'll have our parameters that would be passing down, let's see, passing down from here. Okay, so we can pass this parameters, hour and minutes. So we do hour and minutes, that's what we want to pass. So here we'll grab them int hour, int minutes. Okay, cool. So now simply we'll just pass this on hour minutes. Okay, yes, and we need to put a semicolon anyway. So now we'll return schedule date. Okay, and the error should be gone. So all we did, we grabbed this time and we put it over here. Now over here we get location, and based on that location we get a time, and we use that time. So based on that time we change hour and minutes. I believe you can also change day and month, but I haven't done the research on this. You can do your own experiment. So for hour and minutes has been changed because I changed like now.hour. It does have a now.hour, now.minutes, but I want to replace them using my own time. Okay, yeah. So there is another thing that we need to do over here. We need to check. So if schedule date dot is before, there is a function, the now, then we'll add a day to it. So we'll call it schedule date equal, sorry, schedule date dot add, and it takes a function const duration and days 1. Well, now let's take a look at this function over here and the condition. Now first, if you see the time over here, Berlin wall fell is 1890 and moon landing 69. So now they're doing a conditional checkup. So is Berlin wall fell is before moon landing? So definitely it's false, because moon landing happened before Berlin Wall fell, like that. Okay, so definitely it is false. But now in our case, we are getting the current time object here, and we are also getting a time that we get from here. Okay, but anyway, so each time this app runs and it falls to this condition, when it gets the current time, this is definitely greater than this one, so which becomes true. It becomes true. I believe what it does is automatically adds 1 day. I think you can also add it 2 days. In that case, I think it would have every other day. That's what I believe from my understanding. So anyway, and after that it returns it, and that's what makes it like schedule, timing, everyday notification, things like that. Okay, so you can do more research on this, and I also have it on my website, so you can go ahead and take a look. Anyway, so now we should be good with this, but we also need some other settings. Now here you take a look, here it says that TZ local time, where it should be coming from. It should be coming from our local device, but actually local device does not have this configuration yet. Okay, even though it has no error, but if you go ahead and run it, nothing will happen. So we need a few more steps before we can see the actual notification. Now we need to configure our local time zone, and we also need to get the location, current location. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll go ahead and create a new function over here. We'll call it a configure local time zone. Okay, all right, and here we'll create a string object, final string time zone. Okay, and we'll use await Flutter native time zone, this one. Okay, dot get local time zone, this one. So with this, it will get the local time zone, and it's asking us to use async modifier. Let's do it, and just to make sure it does return something, but it will return void future, because you might need to wait before you return. Okay, anyway, so first we get the local time zone, and we'll set it to the device. Okay, and set it to the device for that location. So that also means we need to get a location first. So what we'll do tz.get location, this one, and we'll pass time zone. Okay, we get the location and we pass. Okay, but this we are getting and passing, but we are not really setting, so I will cut it. And what I'll do tz.set location over here. We'll do it. Okay, so what happens here, first we have this time object which gets the local time zone, and we also get the location for local location, and then we set it inside this location, and we set the location eventually. Okay, so all it does it here is get the location and set the location. Okay, and at the same time it also sets the time zone. That's what it does, I believe. Anyway, so now we need to find a way to call it. So well, now another thing, they should go together, which is called tz.initialize time zones, this one. Okay, but we already did it at the top, so make sure you have this initialized before you set the local time zone and before you go ahead and do this dynamic time convert. Okay, you have to have this one. Now this function, actually now we can call it from our initialization at the top, which is I believe over here, and we don't need this anymore because it's already included in this function. Okay, all right, and there's one more step to get the schedule notification, that is over here. So we need to pass another parameter which is called match date time components, I believe. So date time components, this one, dot time. So over here, using this one, you get daily notification based on that time, but you can also do, I think it's called weekly, yeah, like this one. So it gets for every week, certain day and certain time, but for now we do just a time. Okay, using this time you can get notification every day on a certain time. All right, so I think so far we are done, and we don't need this one as well. So all we did here, we first did local time configuration, we got the time zone and then set it, and after that we should do this one, which we already did. I think I have a typo here, convert, and it should be convert anyway. So we converted the time, and we also set a new parameter. So these are the few settings you must have for a schedule notification. Okay, all right, so now what we'll do, we'll go ahead and run it. Let's see. Okay, now we'll create a new notification. Okay, notification, and waiting for it, and let's do at let's say 07. Make sure that we get the notification. This is 06, and we'll wrap it for daily, and we'll mark it as a pink over here, and we'll create it. Okay, now we need to wait. The start time is 07. Now it's 06, so let's keep waiting. Yes, perfect. So you see the time arrived, we get the notification. Of course, the title is wrong. This is not what we want. But anyway, so that means our notification has been working. So let's do one more task, more knowledge. Okay, and this time we'll set it to say 09 on the PM, and we'll set it to daily, and we'll use yellow color. So 2 minutes later, let's see, the time arrives, we'll see the notification. Perfect, the time arrived, we see the notification, and at this correct time. Okay, and we can mark it as a task completed and change it, and we can delete this. Everything else is working pretty much as we expected. All right, okay, now we'll see how to set up this. Well, now we do get the notification, but we get these things. We definitely don't want to get this one. I think it's pretty easy to solve. So all we need to do just to replace with title and note, things like that. So definitely for here, we don't want a 0. We can do task.id, and let's see over here, task.title, and over here we do task.note. So those are the fields that we have over here: ID, title, and a note. Okay, now let's see what's going on here, and I think it wants us to convert it to int. Okay, all right, and we still get error. Well, these are the notification I did early, so you can ignore them. Let's see, null check. So say go ahead and do it as it want. Okay, these are all, once again, SDK version. With some older SDK, it just works like this. Okay, anyway, so now we'll go ahead and well, what do we do? So let's save it first. Okay, and we'll go ahead and create a new one, and we'll say new test, keep learning and trying, and this time we'll set it to 11, and we'll use this one, and let's go ahead and do daily and create task. Okay, now let's see what happens as our notification pops up. Yes, so new test, keep learning and trying. So our subject is correct. Okay, so that's also working as well. Okay, in next part we'll see how to tap on this notification and go to a new page. Okay, while we want to tap on notification and go to a new page, at the same time we want to carry the notification to that new page. Well, right now if we look at our function, which is called initialize notification, if we come over here and if we take a look over here, we have initialize this method, and it's calling a callback function which is called selector notification. And if you take a look at selector notification, it is over here. Right now it diverts us to or take us to a new page where there is a white color. Not much, but you do see that it does take a notification payload object, or payload, actually it's a string, nothing fancy, you can name it anything, but as a convention people call it payload. You can call it anything, don't worry, you'll be still good to go. All right, now it does know that what kind of payload or string over here shows up when you tap on the button. Okay, Yeah, but this section has to work with another section together, which is over here within zone schedule. Okay, so when you schedule notification and you want to take it a new page and you want to pass the string or the object, you need to combine here as well. Okay, so here there's a parameter which is called payload, and over here you can send all of them. Okay, yeah, so that's what we want to send. We want to send the ID and as well as the note. Okay, now it does it is a string, it should be a string, so but they're int right now. So what we could do, we could do task.title and we can combine them with the task.note. Okay, but here actually let's see, we want to, well, now definitely this is a variable over here, right? So we need to put this dollar sign, okay, like this, and we need to wrap them using curly braces like this. Let's see. Okay, and what else? Let's see, over here we just need one. Okay, now the error is gone, and after each of them actually we want to put this it's kind of like based on this we want to split that. Okay, let me tell you what is happening. So now with this it will become one complete string. Okay, one complete string. So based on this we want to separate it. Okay, so once we go to a new page we need to get this string and we want to separate the title and the note. Okay, now this is a mark over here, like previously we split a string based on this column, but here you can use anything, actually anything you want, it doesn't matter though. Okay, all right, so we're good. So now here, from here actually the payload would be given to, I believe, to this one. So now whatever is here, so you can get them here, and once you get them you can actually go ahead and send it to any page you want. Okay, so now it's time to create a new page. So we'll go to our folder UI, and over here we'll create a new file. We'll call it notified page.dart. Okay, now here we'll create a stateless class. For now it's stateless, notified page. We'll call it notified page, and instead of a container here we'll return scaffold because we want to have an app bar so that we can come back to this page. All right, now let's see, come over here. So what do we want to send? We want to send we want to go to a new page, and the page's name is notified page, notified page, this one, and I guess it's auto imported. While we are using GetX, so we can just use arrow function. Anyway, now here we want to pass some parameters. So we'll pass as a label, we'll pass payload. Okay, this one. So this is a parameter. Now over here in this page we need to retrieve it. So let's come over here, we'll declare a string. So we'll call it, say, final string and label. Okay, now definitely we need this within our constructor. We do this dot label, and it would ask us to add required keyword. Okay, now for now the error is gone. Now scaffold has app bar property, we're going to use that. We'll use app bar. Okay, now here it has a leading option or property, and it takes icon button. So we'd use icon button, and icon button takes on pressed. So over here, once we press on it, we want to go back to the earlier page. So you can just use get.back, and let's see, now it's asking us to import the GetX package. So this one, the first one, the error should be gone, and now there's another error because it's asking you to get an icon. So we'll use icon for this. We'll use icon constructor, and which takes icon data. So icons dot, we'll use arrow like this one, back arrow. All right, now the error should be gone as well. Okay, yeah. What else? So far we are good with this, and let's see. And I think we can also set, let's see, what other color is available here. So it should have, I think, a background color. Okay, so we'll use background color. Now for background color, we need to use get.isDarkMode, this one. So if it's in dark mode, so the color, I guess the background color, we could set it a little gray. So we do colors.gray and maybe 600. Well, if it's not in dark mode, then we can use background color as white. So do colors.white. Okay, yeah, so that's a good setting. And okay, so that's about the icon button, and we also want to use a title. Now the title should be coming from our payload. So do remember, well, no, we do have an error. Let's see. No, it's because come over here. As well as, let's see. Okay, the error should be gone. Okay, now over here, the title. Let's see, so whatever we get from the payload over here, do remember it's taking the whole string, but this actual string is coming from here. Okay, now here we'll split it based on this one, and the first one is the task object, the first one is this the title, right, from this object. So we can split the string over here. So whatever the label we get, so this dot label, and then make sure it's a string, and then we do split, and we split based on this icon, and then we grab the first one, and the first one is our, let's see, okay, we have an error. Let's wrap it within text. Yeah, we should wrap it within TextWidget anyway, because this is a text. All right, so now we should be able to see this text as a title when we tap on the notification bar. Okay, do remember that you also need this one, otherwise it won't work. Anyway, now let's go ahead and run it. Okay, now let's create a new one. We'll create new test, Flutter test, and let's set the time to 25, and do this one, and we want to create a pink one. Let's go ahead and create this. Okay, let's go ahead and delete all of them. We don't need them now. Okay, perfect. So this is the time we were waiting for. Now it's 20:23. Let's wait. Okay, so the notification is here. Let's tap on this, and we are over here, but unfortunately we can't see any of this. We didn't see the title. Maybe we can do a style for this one. So let's go ahead and create a style object, and we do text style, and we'd say colors dot black. Okay, now let's go ahead and run it, and we'll create one more. So here we'll call Flutter, learn Flutter, and we do 26, and let's see, daily. Okay, now I think we can remove one of them. Now over here, yeah, now it says that is instance of title task. So I think we are making a mistake over here. So $sign actually should be outside. Okay, sorry for the mistake. Let's go ahead and run it. And before we run it, I think we can also change the icon color over here. So we'll define a color for this. So get.isDarkMode. When it's dark mode, if it's dark mode, we would use colors dot say white. Otherwise, we would use colors dot maybe gray. we're good. Yeah, like that. Well, let's run it. Okay, now let's create one more. Learn Flutter best framework for applications, and we do 28 over here. PM, okay. Daily, change the color. All right. So let's wait for it and let's see the result. Okay, now this Flutter is the notification is over here, and let's tap on this. Now over here, learn Flutter. So we are successfully able to show it, and sorry for the error. So the $sign should have been outside over here. Anyway, so what it tells you, so it also tells you can print anything over here, whatever comes from this notification payload. Okay, yeah. So what do you do? We can also define the body property, and over here we do container, and say within container, what can we do? We can say assign child. Okay, so we do child. Okay, and over here we can grab this one once again, this part of this text actually. Okay, and once you split it, you want to get the second part. Okay, and I think here you can also set up width, say for example, say 400, sorry, height 400, and width say 300, and what else? Maybe a bit of decoration, so we do box decoration. Okay, so that it looks good. We'll do border radius.circular, so 20 pixels. All right, now let's go ahead and save it. Well, so it's there. Now let's see, we can center it. Sorry. Okay, so it's all centered over here though, and now let's set a color. We check is dark mode, sorry, get dot is dark. So if it's true, then we'd use colors dot white, otherwise colors dot gray 400. Now let's save it and see the result. Okay, now we want to center the text as well. So now, yes, so things are working pretty good. All right, now of course you may want to change the color now because the background is gray, right? So you can do a conditional check over here, not really black. So get dot is dark mode. Well, if it's a dark mode, then let's see, colors. So if it's a dark mode, the background color is white, the text color maybe you want a little black. Okay, all right, otherwise colors dot white. Okay, yeah, okay, perfect. And what else you could say? You can also set the setup text font size, right? I would do font size, I think, what is it? Well, let's see, font size, the TaskTile. So anyway, yeah, so I think so far it's working pretty good. Now you can go back. All right, yeah, so let's go ahead and create a new one. Learn Laravel. We love Laravel and Flutter. Well, we don't want to change this one. Daily, go ahead and create with this one. Let us change the time though. We want to change the time to 36. And let me remove the unnecessary one, so we don't need this. Anyway, so now it's 35. We need to wait until 36 and we'll see. Okay, perfect. So our notification is here. Let's tap on this. All right, so well, as the mode changes, it changes as well anyway, but of course this page could be much better, but you get the idea that how it works anyway. So well, so first we are good. We can tap on this, we can get notification, and let's see, once we click on this it shows up as well. But now if you click on this, there is an error. So why the error is happening now? As you see, it says only valid value 0 and 1. Now it's throwing an valid value range error. Now why is this happening? If you come over here to our notification services, and this is the one that's responsible for showing this. Now as you see, we are sending the payload. The payload actually does come over here in this page, and it tries to split it, and once it tries to split it like this, it gets the error. Okay, but as I said earlier, that we just want to be able to tap on this, and sorry, let's restart it. Restarting. We want to be able to tap on this and change the mode, and when the notification shows up for this one, we don't want to go anywhere. Okay, so we need to nullify this. But anyway, so now we need to set a condition for this. So how to set a condition? Now if you come to our home page over here, as you see, this function, it takes this title, which is a fixed one, and the body message, things like that. Like if you see, so theme changed and activated, dark theme, like that, whatever. Okay, so that's what we get now. So let's put it back. So once we click on this, we don't want to go to anywhere. So what it has to do with this one? So here this title is pretty fixed, right? So what we'll do, we'll put the payload over here. I mean, the title is our payload in our case, so it's pretty fixed, but you can make it dynamic if you want, and we'll copy it here. Okay, so once we copy it here, so the payload is same as one being sent from there, or actually you can also get it from here though. String title, I think they're the same thing. So here it's a title, I guess. Okay, so whatever you change, you get it here. But anyway, so there would be the same thing though. So what we'll do, we'll come over here, select let's see, select notification over here. We'll do a conditional change. So what is the conditional check we could do over here? We'll check if payload equal this one. So because do remember, this is what we change, and we get it here. I mean, first we get it over here, okay, using this, right? Okay, so then once we tap on this, we can do a check on this once we tap on this notification. So if it's this one, actually we don't want to go anywhere, otherwise we'll go to say this one. Okay, so that's how we are working around this problem. So nothing to navigate to. All right, so yeah, that's it. So based on this, we are doing a check. Now let's go ahead and run it. Let's see. Okay, our application restarted, and let's tap on this. It showed up. Perfect, the error is gone. Do it again, the error is gone. Now let's make sure that it's working the other way. Okay, we'll React Native, let's see, React Native, do you know React? Okay, so over here we'll change it to say 5 and wait for it, grab, and we'll use a different color. Okay, now let's create the task. Let's make sure that they don't collide with each other. Okay, let's delete this one first. Anyway, there's the theme one, so this is coming from theme. Anyway, now we are waiting for our other notification. Hopefully it'll show up because it's here. Yes, now it's also working, right? So perfect, so things are pretty good so far. We can delete them, we can mark it as completed, but of course this app is far from finished. We can do much more things. For example, we can edit this list over here. There's a way we can do it, but I'm not going to cover right now in this tutorial, but in future tutorial. Okay, anyway, so if you learned something in this tutorial, don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button. And if you have any questions, I'll leave a comment below. By the way, I do want you to do one thing though. I want you to do work where you can actually cancel notification. Okay, so there are many different ways you can do it from here. So you can have one more button, and for that certain list you can cancel the notification even if you change it. Okay, or you can also add it from here. So you click on it, it showed up like edit option, and you can go ahead and edit. So you can do that one, and if you do it, just let me know in the comment section. All right, so I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much.